Hey everybody, I'm Madison and welcome back to Diaries of a Farmhouse. I know it's been a while since my last video. I think it was either the vlog or I think I did a beauty and botany video last. I'm gonna try to film, just noticed there's water on my table. I'm gonna try to film this with my selfie camera, whatever. Hopefully the quality turns out okay. I film everything on my phone, and so it's hard for me to see what's going on when I have it the other way. So we're gonna try this way, and hopefully it works out. Today is a pond video. I know it's been a very long time since my first one. I've done some updates on my Instagram, but I wanted to do another video talking about where all my plants are as far as pond and kind of like the things that I've noticed about it, the troubles I've gone through, and some of the good things. So first, let me flip this around so that I can kind of show you what I've got going here, and then I'll pick out a few to kind of show you that are kind of special. Okay, so you can see here I have quite a variety of plants in these different pots, and a variety of different plants, different pots, all varieties. This orchid bloom is just asking to be put on show. But this is kind of what I've got going. I think this is everybody. There is one on the other side of the room. Let me show you. So I do also have this one, which was one of my first ones that I put in pond. I had initially gotten this from Home Depot, and then it started not doing well. It didn't have root rot. It just was not happy, so I cut it back. So from here down, I had put in pond, and it's rooted, and now everything from there up has been growth since that point, so she's really loving it. I also will put in the description the pots that I use because I've ordered them all off of Amazon. So okay, so now that I've kind of showed you what I have going on, let me grab some of the ones that I want to show you and kind of talk about. I have several that are in Amazon pots, which I will link in the description below. And then I also have a lot of them in my own self-watering pots that I made with Dixie cups and mason jars. And then I also put a lot of them in mason jars or even wine glasses. So one of the benefits of using pond is that you can kind of use whatever reservoir or whatever glass that you have to plant in. It gives you a lot more freedom that way. So my mom and I like to go antiquing, so a lot of times I will just find cute wine glasses and put my cuttings in there and then put them in pond. So let me show you some of the ones I've got going here. Okay, so one of them that I know I had put in pond at the very beginning, when I first kind of got into it, didn't want to risk any of my good plants, so I kind of chose ones that were kind of on the fence, kind of either on their way out or were just not doing well. Because I figured if I lost them, man, that sucks. If I didn't lose them and they thrived, then I knew that pond really worked. So I do have this Alocasia Polly. It's taken a while for her to kind of come out of her funk. So I think the bulb had started to go dormant. She died back, wasn't doing well in soil. One thing I've found is that alocasias really like pond. You just have to make sure that it's drying out almost completely before you're adding more water. If you're not using one with a reservoir. If you're using the ones with a reservoir, they should do okay. You just have to monitor it, kind of see how the leaves look. So my Alocasia Polly, I did have this little one in a terrarium. I just took it out and put it in here with this other one. But this one had pretty much died back to the corm or the bulb. Let me see if I can show you. So we got this guy here. I had put it in this pond, and then I didn't cover the bulb all the way. I just kind of laid it in there as I could, and then it produced its own roots and put out, this was the first leaf it had put out after putting it in pond, and now we've got this beautiful guy. So these I made myself. Let me grab my other one. This was supposed to be a giant Hawaiian pothos. Obviously, it's just a pothos. It died back, but whatever. That's okay. Who doesn't love a pothos? So, but what I did for these guys is I took these big mason jars and then I took Dixie cups. Let me see. This one might be better. I took Dixie cups and I either took clips off of old pots from like Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart where they do the self-watering and just clipped it into the bottom. And then I cut some slits in the bottom just so that the water could run out and it would have a little bit of air down there. These Dixie cups slip perfectly into these mason jars. I just fill the bottom. This one obviously needs the water cleaned. And then it kind of wicks it up. So the other way I did this, both of these have the clips, but I also did use bobby pins and just got like water absorbing rope or string and then put it in the bobby pin and pushed the bobby pin into the bottom far enough that the water could wick up. So that's one way that I've done that. They seem to like that. It doesn't work for all of them. I did have a Hoya in pond in one of these and I ended up putting it back in soil. I did not like it. So, but these have done pretty well. So kind of a low budget way to do self-watering with pond. Let me grab some of my mason jars. So I have several. They're not in mason jars per se. Some of them are, but some of them are also just in like old pasta jars and stuff. So let me grab those. So this one was in an old, salsa, sorry. Old salsa jar. The thing I love about pon is for a lot of plants, you can use it. Corn plants, usually you can put them in soil, let them dry out in between waterings. They like to have kind of dry roots. Some people, like I have mine in a fish tank. You could propagate them in water and leave them in water, but they don't like soggy soil. I, for one, have not always gotten along with corn plants or Dracaena, so I decided to try one in my fish tank and then one in pond. I still have the bases. They're in soil. They're living, but they're not thriving. But you can see that this corn plant in pond has gotten a lot of roots. What I do is I let it dry out like it is now, and then I put a little bit of water just to there and let it sit in the bottom, and it will wick up to my plant. So that's how I use pond in all of the jars I'm about to show you. I will just let them dry out and then fill to the bottom. So I think when I'm putting them in these kinds of containers and transferring plants to pond in non-self-watering containers, I should say, I think the best way to do it is by cutting. So, or corm. This one, like the other alocasia, had died back a little bit, and so I decided to take the corm and place it into, it's like an old jelly jar, and then with pond. I don't know, there's still, looks like there still might be a little bit of moisture in the bottom of this one, but when it's pretty much dry, I'll add a little bit of water to the bottom, and you can see that she's trying to put out a new leaf now too. So I think with alocasias, pond is definitely a good way to go if you can't get the hang of them in soil. I kind of struggled finding that balance, and so I will probably end up transferring most of them into pond. I will show you something in a second. It seems like some of them will go into shock at first, but then they kind of come out of it. So the other thing, like corn plants, snake plants like to be dry most of the time. They don't like a whole lot of water. And so these were all cuttings from my aunt's snake plants. Hopefully I didn't say spider plants, snake plants. You can see there was a cutting here. And I just kind of put them all in here. This one definitely does still have a little bit of moisture in the bottom, so I'm not going to put water in that just yet. This is another jelly jar. But once it's dry, I'll add a little bit of water, and they are loving it. So the versatility when using pond is awesome. You can use it with a variety of plants. I haven't tried it with like succulents or cacti yet, so I'm not really sure about those, but the ones that I've tried it with so far, I've been really impressed. So, not all of them do like pond, and maybe I'm just not doing it the right way with certain plants. I've tried a couple of Hoyas. I ended up putting them back into soil because they did not like it. They ended up, I don't know if they were not absorbing enough moisture from it, Nonetheless, I know a lot of people say that you should do cuttings. I didn't do cuttings. I kept their existing root systems, washed them, and put them in, so maybe that's where I went wrong. I do have this watermelon peperomia. If you follow me on Instagram, it's been quite the journey with this one. I had initially got it on discount at Walmart, and because it was like dying and it was not happy. It did well for a little bit, and then it died back again, did well, died back again, so I was like, screw it, I'm putting it in pon. She's not great, but she's growing, and that might also be because she needs a repot. So, you can kind of see all the roots in there. The nice thing about pon is you can reuse it. You don't have to, I like the fact that when I start cuttings in it, I don't have to risk transferring to a different medium like we would do with water and moss and perlite. If you started cutting in pon or transfer a plant to pon, you can just leave it in pon the rest of its life. So what I'll do with this one is I'll take a self-watering pot. I'll probably buy some off Amazon and just take this out, put it in the new pon, and just leave it that way. I just realized I do have another plant up here. Woo! Right there. That was in the same boat, so I'll show you that in a sec. So like I was talking about earlier, with having more kind of options as far as like being able to plant in certain things. This has got bad leaves in it. Gross. Not all cuttings take well in it, but when they do, they do. So. Okay, so when I was talking about versatility as far as what you can plant in, this is what I was talking about. So this is just like a little, I think I got it, yeah, I got it at Goodwill for $1.25. Little cute wine glass. I put pon in there with some Scindapsus cuttings. Not all of them took, which is always going to be, no matter what you start cuttings in, it's always going to be a risk. But these have taken really well. You can see it's starting to get new growth there. Same as the other mason jars and such that I plant in, I will put, you can see some water in the bottom there, and then let it absorb. When it dries out, I'll add more. So these last two are great examples of how to save cuttings in pon as well as start cuttings. So this Camposportum had just been a cutting I traded on Marketplace, and initially when I got it, I don't think it had a leaf, but it had a leaf bud, if that's what you call it. I can't think of the word right now, but the leaf had not quite come out, and then it produced this new little leaf, and now you can see that it's gotten a lot more growth on it. This is in just like a fruit spread jar right now. I'm not going to move it into another pot until it gets root bound in there. So same as you would if they were in soil. This one is obviously ready to climb. You can kind of see she's reaching out for something there. So I may put like a block of wood or a small moss pole or something in there for it to climb up. But this other one, this is just like an all green Syngonium. You can see it's having a little bit of guttation. I've never been good at saying that, guttation. Anyway, but I have this one in a small jelly jar like the other, and this I ordered online a while ago, and I initially put it in water. I had 2 of them. She sent me one free too. I ordered it off Etsy. It was like $5. They had come. I had tried them in soil, I tried them in water, I tried them in perlite, I tried them in moss, and they would not root. The one died, and I took this one. It really didn't have any nodes on it. I put it in pon, and here we are. So I think pon could really be like a game changer, a lifesaver if you're like me and you have cuttings and you don't want to deal with the stress of transferring them from one medium to another when they're ready, or if you have some that you want to save, or it's even good if you struggle with root rot. You can still get root rot with pon, but I think it's a little easier to recover from, especially if you get the self-watering pots. So, or use clear containers so you can kind of monitor what's going on in there. So let me show you some of the self-watering pots I have. All of them have come off of Amazon. But let me show you what I've gotten them, show you how they're working. I forgot to show you my orchid. My orchid is in an orchid container in a it's in like one of those pots from Home Depot that has no drainage in it. So you can use orchids with pon. I haven't really tried any other method. This one had no roots on it. It was from like the clearance section, and she's starting to put out some new roots. Obviously she's bloomed. The leaves are a little wrinkly, but I think that's just because it's trying to put out some new roots in there. Got a beautiful bloom here. So I just took this orchid container. The only sucky thing is that the pon falls out of the holes sometimes. But as long as you don't move it a lot, that really doesn't happen too much. And with orchids with this, I wait until the roots are silver, and then I will run just a little bit of water over the roots and then let it drain. I will not let the pon sit in water. Okay, so I do have this in a self-watering pot from Amazon. So the way these work, I may not show you every single one. Oh, look at those roots. Those look a little pink, but I'm not gonna worry. What I might have to do, since she's trying to root out of the bottom, is take everything out and repot her and coil the roots back into the pon. But basically most of them have these little legs, and you fill this until it registers on this little gauge right here, so you can kind of see the water changes. Every so often I'll do this because sometimes they get stuck, but I will wait until it's at the minimum and then I'll fill it back up to the maximum. Not producing huge leaves, but I don't think that is because of the self-watering. I think it's more of a light issue. I don't really care. It's doing a thing, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing. But it's still growing, it's happy, it's alive. I'm not gonna worry about it. I might end up cutting and propagating some of these just to try to plant them back here so it's a little fuller, but I do have a lot of alocasias in pon, like I was talking about earlier. It seems like they really like it. You just don't want it to be too wet. So sometimes I'll monitor the top. Sometimes it gets a little mold on the top. You can always rinse it out. I kind of just fluff it up so it dries out. These I also got. They're a little bit bigger than the other ones. They also have the monitors. You can see when I put this black velvet alocasia, it's been on my Instagram a bajillion times. And usually only puts out 2 leaves for me. And then when the third comes out, the other one dies, or vice versa. So this is the first time that I'll have 3 leaves at the same time. I'm just hoping it doesn't drop this one. But overall, it's been pretty happy. It did put out a leaf pretty much right away after I put it in pon. I just filled it up when it's dry and kind of just let it do its thing. Let me show you the other alocasias. So I do also have these 2, a dragon scale, gray dragon scale, and then green. The green one, it put out this leaf when I put it into, it didn't really have a whole lot of leaves when I got it. It had 2. I decided to transfer it because the black velvet was doing pretty good. So I did transfer it. This leaf hasn't grown a whole lot, and it is getting a little bit of like yellow on the side. Maybe a bit too much water, but I'm kind of just waiting to see what it does because that might just be a little bit of shock and trying to recover from being transplanted into something else. I will let this one dry out completely before I put more water in it just to make sure it's not a root issue. But overall, I think it's doing okay. And then this one, when I talk about shock, this is kind of what I'm talking about. So I just put this guy in here. It might be trying to put out a new leaf. It definitely has a growth point, I noticed when I took it out of its soil. This leaf has been like this for ages, besides the yellow. So the yellow kind of happened after I put it in pon, but like I said, they kind of go into shock when you first transfer them. So don't be like surprised if you get this after you put your plant in pon. Give it some time, because a lot of times old roots will die and then new ones will form. So a prime example of that is, I think it's a Zebrina is what they're called. I had gotten this from Walmart for like 20 bucks. My husband bought it for me. I put 2 bulbs in here. They did have soil mites. They weren't doing really well. So I took them outside. I rinsed off the roots. I rinsed off the bulbs. And I decided to try PON, because that seems to be my life changer, my plant saver. So I put it in PON and put it in the greenhouse. When I say not to be shocked when everything dies, I mean it, because pretty much everything had died. And then this last week I finally took her out of the greenhouse because she put out this new leaf, and there's a new little growth down here in the bottom. So but it takes a while sometimes if they really do go into shock, or if they were struggling before you transplanted them. I also have this Maranta in here. I bought this forever ago. It died. I brought it back. It had a little bit of variegation. I was so excited. It's died back again. And so I put it in PON in a mason jar, just like that peperomia, and the roots filled it up, and I decided to put it in its own pot. So it seems pretty happy. It's got some little new guys coming out at the bottom. It does get these yellow leaves, but not too worried about it. Overall pretty healthy, happy. Okay, so I know that was a lot for a PON update, but I wanted to make sure that you guys saw everything that I've been doing and experimenting with. I know that a lot of videos show you different ways that you can use PON. A lot of them say just buy the containers. For those of us that don't have a lot of funds to be able to do that, you can definitely make your own. Just keep in mind the plant that you have, and make sure that you're letting them dry out if you're using containers that don't have like drainage or a way to reabsorb. So like the mason jars and jelly jars and such. So overall, I am really, really impressed with PON, and in fact, I am thinking about adding it to my business to become like a rep for it. So because I'm so passionate about it, and I would love to start cuttings and such for people, that they could just buy the cutting, and when they're ready to come back, they can come back and get more PON and pots and such. So something for the future, but I am super impressed with PON. I know you can get it from some other people that make their own. Technically PON belongs to Lechuza, but I know some people make their own semi-hydro mixes that are similar that you can get online. Realistically, I usually order Lechuza PON online, and then I will on Amazon. And even though it's expensive, you can continue reusing it, rinsing it out, and I've gotten a ton of use. All of these have been done with 2 bags, and I gave my mom some. So you definitely get a lot of use out of it. You get a lot of PON. So you can still use your moss poles. You can still use stakes. You can still use wood if you want to support your plants. It all is pretty much the same. Needless to say, I think that any cuttings that I start from here on out, I'm going to start them in PON, and then that way I can just keep them in PON. I do notice sometimes it gets a little too wet, so you want to make sure that's drying out. I also notice that sometimes it gets bugs in it, but it's pretty easy to get rid of them. I don't notice fungus gnats as much. And the ones I did notice was an old PON that I had let sit for a while, and I just went and I just rinsed it out with hot water and let it dry out. So those are some of the benefits and kind of cons to PON. Not every plant loves PON. And I haven't tried it with succulents or cacti, so if you do try that, let me know down in the comments below how that went for you. I think that's it for today, guys. I thank you for stopping by and checking out my channel and watching my videos. If you want to see more of my content, make sure you subscribe here, but also follow me on my Instagrams. My personal Instagram or my plant Instagram is madplants, madd.plants. And then my business Instagram is at diariesoffarmhouse.shop, where I sell plants, pots, dog bandanas, earrings like the ones I'm wearing right now. And we're adding in some of our Christmas stuff. So, and right now we are supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the end of October. So you can definitely go to that Instagram, either one of them, and go to the link tree and donate either to the Young Survival Coalition, or you can purchase anything pink on our website to donate 15% of your purchase, or you can buy any of our new keychains to donate $5. So, a lot of things to look forward to. Thank you for stopping by, and I really appreciate all the support you guys show me. If you try pon, let me know your experiences down below. If you tried it with succulents or other plants I didn't show, let me know how it goes. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.